Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Morning game, tough game for us. I thought Clay did a great job for us. Went out and pitched, a spot start type situation, gave us everything he had, and put us in a position to win. We just could not get anything going offensively all day long. We had leadoff man on, I think, 4 out of the 5 first innings, or 4 or 5 first innings, and just couldn't materialize with it.
Tigers did not have one more rally left in them. They had rallied to beat Duke. They had rallied to beat Miami at the ACC tournament. They had the great position in front of them. Had they won today, they'd be playing for the ACC championship on Sunday, probably against Maryland, of all people.
Wow.
But it didn't happen as they lose to Georgia Tech 3-0. I think it's the first shutout for Clemson since back in 1996. First time they've been shut out. 3-9-0 for Georgia Tech, 0-4-3 for the Tigers. Phil Kornblut, the professor, Tom Hayes, back. No reason to hang around Hoover. Back in the studios in Columbia.
Going over to Dreamland and have another barbecue.
Had enough barbecue. I get out of Hoover as quickly as possible. I'm allowed to. Kevin McCrary on hand in Greensboro to watch it all come to an end for the Tigers today. K-Mac, a tough loss for Clemson. Clay Schmidt was great, but not good enough, as it turns out.
Yeah, it comes to a screeching halt here for Clemson. All the stars seemed like they were aligning for the Tigers with that dramatic win last night in the bottom of the 9th inning against the top seed in this tournament. They come out today playing a Georgia Tech team that's the number 9 seed. They had to play a game on Tuesday just to get here, so this was their 4th game in 4 days. They're starting a guy that hadn't started a game on the mound in over a year, but, it just didn't work out. You're right. Schmidt was great. The offense, not so great.
And they couldn't, it didn't have really enough hits to really have to come up with clutch hits. They didn't have, they did have base runners. The Georgia Tech starting pitcher didn't allow a hit until 5th or 6th inning, but he did allow a number of walks and he hit a batter. So Clemson did have some base runners, but couldn't come up with that clutch hit.
Yeah, and the 9th inning was really the first time that they had a serious opportunity. They had some base runners via walk, but there weren't a lot of opportunities with guys in scoring position with less than a couple of outs. Georgia Tech, they had countless opportunities. Schmidt was wiggling out of jams from the beginning. The Yellow Jackets left double-digit runners on base, and I really got the feeling, guys, that it was going to be Clemson's day, but when that 2-run homer happened in the top of the 9th, that pretty much sealed it.
Yeah, I would have bet the house, I would have bet the farm that after they wiggle out of that bases loaded, nobody out jam in the 5th and only gave up 1 run, I thought it was Clemson's day, but they never could muster anything. Isaacs was tough, and their bullpen was tougher when they got in.
All right, more from K-Mac, more from Clemson coming up, and we've got more for you here on Sports Talk, some recruiting news, of course, including word from a top USC target that the Gamecocks did make his reduced list of 8. All that's coming up.
Well, luckily you don't have to worry about me. You don't have to worry about muting yourself today, there, K-Mac.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, stand by. Here we go.
All right, good to be back with you here in our very cool, as in temperature, and in terms of cosmetics, very cool studio here in downtown Columbia. Phil Kornblut, the professor, Tom Hayes. Kevin McCrary on the road one more night in Greensboro. Things wrap up for the Tigers this afternoon with a 3-0 loss. We'll get more from K-Mac on that in just a moment, give you details on the Tigers game. We'll hear from Jack Leggett and some of the Tigers as well as they put the wraps on a pretty successful trip to the tournament, going 2-1 and just coming up short in their attempt to make it to the championship game. Also coming up, details on a new contract for Clemson basketball coach Brad Brownell. We'll tell you about that, and we'll give you some recruiting news to to begin the program tonight. If you'd like to join us as you're driving around the state tonight, and I'm sure many of you are, feel free to jump on board. 800-956-7266 is the phone number. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Don't forget, as you're traveling around, you can find us on iHeartRadio should you lose us over the airwaves. iHeartRadio, a couple of our affiliates streaming our program there at WSEA-FM in Myrtle Beach, WGVL-AM in Greenville. You can also hear the live stream on our website, always on our website, sportstalksc.com. And you can watch us, our live video stream at the bottom of the page at sportstalksc.com in HD. You can see all our beautiful features here on Sports Talk. So we got a lot to do. We're going to dive into it here in just a moment. Again, the number 800-956-7266. Remember now, Memorial Day weekend, a lot of you heading out to the beach, maybe to the lake, whatever the case may be. When you're on the water, please have fun, but please never drink and drive your boat. Always designate a driver. Always wear your life jacket. Please make it through the summer safely. We want to see you at the ball games coming up this fall. All right, K-Mac, 3-0. The Tigers go down. How about give us the details on how this game played out as Clemson wraps up its stay at the ACC tournament?
Well, the Tigers certainly can't blame any of their problems today on pitching. Clayton Schmidt, the bright spot for the Tigers on the mound, a career-high 8 1/3 innings, gave up 8 hits, 2 earned runs, struck out 6, and walked 1, and he wiggled out of a cluster of jams. First inning, second inning, fifth inning, gave up 1 run in that 5th inning, but it could have been a lot worse, as Pro alluded to in the open of the show. The bases loaded, nobody out. That inning started with 4 consecutive Georgia Tech hits that led to that first run, and then a strikeout and a double play got Schmidt out of it. And at that point, you said that's a win for the Tigers, and you thought they would scratch a run, but they just never got anything going offensively. They didn't pick up their first hit until the 6th inning, and the Tigers only had 4 hits for the day. 3 errors for Clemson that didn't end up costing them a ton, but just some sloppy play out in the field that cost Clemson. But still, you go to the 9th inning, despite all of that, despite the fact that they only had a couple of hits, despite the fact that they hadn't scored a run, despite the fact that they had 3 errors, they're only down 1-0. Clayton Schmidt's still on the mound, giving you good stuff. He gave up a leadoff single, and then he got it out on a bunt, and he came out of the game. Matt Campbell, their closer, who was fresh, you thought that was a good situation for Clemson. It wasn't. He came out, and Mott Hyde took him deep over the left field wall, and that made it 3-0. And at that point, the way Clemson was struggling at the plate, you felt like it might be out of reach. But the Tigers did make a little noise in the 9th inning. After the first batter was retired, the Tigers got a couple of guys on. In fact, got them to a 2nd and 3rd situation, but 2 straight strikeouts, and the game is over, and Clemson is packing up the bus and heading back to Tiger Town, hoping that the NCAA Selection Committee has seen enough to give them an at-large bid. And with 36 wins and a strong showing here, I think they do have enough cred on the resume to get that at-large bid.
Was Jack doing any campaigning in this post-game news conference to send a message to the committee, or did he kind of come across as a guy who's confident, not worried at all about being included in the field?
Well, I talked to Jack I guess Wednesday night after the Duke game, and he said then, he's like, we should be in. So he's kind of stuck to that. And obviously with a win over Duke and a win over Miami, he's really sticking to that. He wasn't campaigning as much as he was saying he would be shocked and disappointed if they didn't get into the NCAA tournament. And they moved up to 40 last night, or 44, I think, in the latest RPI, from 50 to 44 after that win over Miami. And
they're 49. They're 49 now.
49 now. Baseball America and their projections had them in. I think they're in on the road as a 3 seed. I just don't think there are 64 teams better than Clemson right now. Now, they haven't had a great season, and they have some deficiencies offensively. I mean, they just did not get a lot of good swings on Georgia Tech today. And Dusty Isaacs, give this guy credit. He hasn't started, I mentioned, in a year. Now, he's been a closer for them at times. He has 7 saves this season. He has 2 saves in this tournament. He closed out the play-in game for them and the win over Miami. He gets the start. He goes 5 innings, only allows 1 hit and strikes out 7. He made Clemson look silly. Then they bring in Sam Clay. He throws the final 4 innings, allows 3 hits and strikes out 6. So the Tigers with 13 strikeouts, you're just not going to win a lot of games with 13 strikeouts. And they just did not seem to have a good approach at the plate today.
As we look at the current RPI as speculated on by Warren Nolan, this is not the official, but this is the up-to-date RPI from Warren Nolan. It's Virginia, Florida, Indiana, Florida State, Oregon State, Louisiana Lafayette, Vanderbilt, and Texas, the top 8. Now, you might be wondering, well, Vanderbilt lost a series to South Carolina, went 1-2 in Hoover because they had to play in the play-in game. Then they lost 2. Yet they're still in the top 8, and you look at a reason why and they won 41 games, fewer than USC did to this point. But their strength of schedule is number 4 in the country. So they get a big boost from that when it comes to all the
So what's
calculations.
Indiana's strength of schedule?
35.
See, one of the things you got to watch out, and if you're jacklegging, I know it makes you nervous, is because every year there is a silent campaign of teams to get in. Do we go with the tried and true? Hey, let some new blood in this year, and they'll come up for a reason. Oh, so-and-so had big wins over so-and-so. Then they'll go to Clemson and say, yeah, but Clemson's record against top RPI teams is very low. They'll find a reason
Clemson is
to exclude you.
3 and now, well, they're 3-12 against RPI top 25 after their win last night. Georgia Tech's not in the top 25. You look at Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt against top 50 teams, RPI 19-16 against the top 50 teams in the Warren Nolan RPI. Louisiana, see, now here's one I have to question. Louisiana Lafayette, they're 51-7, but their strength of schedule is ranked 120th.
Mm-hmm.
You can win 50 games against a crummy schedule. And they've done that. They're 51-7. Their strength of schedule is 120, but their RPI is number 6. Now, K-Mac, just looking ahead, the 16 host sites will be announced at 9 o'clock on Sunday. Certainly South Carolina will get one. Clemson will not. So I'm thinking about where Clemson might go. And
Don't say it.
No. They won't put them in Columbia. No,
Thank you.
I
Okay.
cannot see that. But how about Clemson as a 3rd seed? We've got about 30 seconds, K-Mac. How about Clemson as a 3rd seed at Vanderbilt?
I could see that. That would be an interesting scenario. I could see that play out.
You've got Jack Leggett going up against Tim Corbin, and I like that because it's not too far away. It's relatively convenient, and I think it'd be an interesting matchup from a standpoint of Clemson being a number 3 seed. I mean, Clemson will make a field, if they're number 3 seed, they'll make that particular regional that much stronger because they're a pretty good number 3 seed, especially with their first 2 starters and then what you got from Schmidt today.
Having that true number 1, that's big.
And really, being a 3 seed, there's no difference between being a 2 or a 3. You know, I mean, you're playing that second game, and you're gonna have to beat the number 1.
That's my point. Yeah, it's
yeah.
true number 1.
I mean, if you're a 4 seed, it makes a difference, I guess. But yeah, Gossett can beat anybody. If they get the pitching that they got here, they'll have a shot. Boy, their offense today was just ugh. I don't have anybody in that lineup that scares you.
Yeah, that's the first time. And remember when you go back to I can't remember the quarterback's name now. Will or the hell's his
Parker.
name? What is it, K-Mac?
Parker.
Kyle Parker. Jesus, what am I doing? And then have the shortstop a couple years later, Richie.
Schaefer.
Yeah, Richie Schaefer. I'm getting the first names. They had somebody that could scare you in the middle of that lineup. They don't really have that right now.
They don't have anybody. They just
That's the difference in the teams.
They have a lot of guys on their lineup that are hitting in the low 200s, and that's just not going to work. I mean, they only have 1, 2, 3 guys in their lineup that are hitting over 300, and they have 1, 2, 3 guys hitting below 260.
Ugh.
You know, and I know the bats have changed, but man, if you're hitting around 250 in college baseball, you're just not getting it done.
Yeah, that's true. All right, stand by, guys.
Yeah, as I was saying, any regional that has Clemson as a number 3 seed is going to be a pretty tough regional.
Yes.
Because I think Clemson, you got Gossett to start game one. That gives Clemson a great chance to win. Then you Crownover's been pitching well, and now you see what Schmidt can do, and but they've got to get a little more offense to support these guys. They didn't score a whole bunch of runs in this particular tournament. They scored just enough, and their pitching was good all the way through. So they weren't knocking the leather off the football by any means. They'll be a tough, assuming they'll be a number 3 seed. They'll be a tough out for whomever they have to play. Let me update other baseball now. First of all, was K-Mac still connected with us? All right, K-Mac, give us an update on the other game. Tell us about that Maryland win today over Florida State. That was, talk about dominating pitching. That was, until the latter innings, Maryland's pitching was outstanding.
Yeah, when they went to the bullpen, Florida State scratched a couple of runs there in the 8th to make it interesting. But, yeah, how about Maryland in control of their pool? And right now Virginia is getting set to take on North Carolina. If Virginia beats the Tar Heels, Maryland punches its ticket into the championship game. And now Georgia Tech, of course, they eliminate Clemson. Miami is already eliminated. Clemson took care of that last night. So Georgia Tech needs Miami to beat Duke, and they'll get in. But if Duke beats Miami, Duke will be in. So we have a scenario of potentially a Duke-Maryland ACC championship. Not basketball. If I was talking about basketball, everybody would be saying that makes sense. But when you talk about baseball, that's not a championship game that you would imagine.
And, of course, it was 5-3 today, Maryland over Florida State. In the Big South today, they're in a delay. Must be raining up there in Rock Hill. That weather, I guess, moved through that part of the state.
I think that's the sprinkler system.
No, I think they got the sprinkler system hopefully under control. Campbell, however, is leading Coastal 12-9.
Wow.
And that's in the 7th. Radford and Liberty coming up tonight at 8 o'clock. In the Southern Conference tournament this afternoon, let's see what's happened there. One game, Georgia Southern beats Appalachian State 2-1. Wofford and Davidson coming up in just a little bit. At the SEC tournament, is in my rearview mirror this afternoon. Arkansas and Ole Miss, they are in the top of the 7th. They are tied at 6, and that's an elimination game. Florida and Mississippi State coming up at 7:30 in another elimination game. I think we've covered all the games that we care about. Clemson announced today that Brad Brownell has a new contract. It's a 6-year contract extension guaranteeing $10.6 million, beginning with $1.55 million for the coming season and escalating to $2 million annually. This is coming off a year in which they went to the NIT semifinals, and they went 23-13. He's 74-58 in 4 seasons with the Tigers. The new agreement included a $20,000 signing bonus. His base salary each year will be $245,000, escalating with supplemental income of over $1.3 million. We'll be back. More sports talk coming up.
Is that the new lettering there? I don't think so. I also don't know. I know that there is a diagonal, but I don't know if it's Not happy about it, but whatever. We'll get over it. It's like when you're not going to buy the beer. You'll buy it. Yeah, it's small business. They're going to use the FS. They want, I mean, they treat I still want us to promote the FS. Gotta work.
K-Mac, who recommended them playing Sandstorm when the lineups were being announced?
I just think they had just.
It can't be random, man. Somebody in there knew I had a cousin or something.
I don't know. I don't know. I think it was inadvertent. You know, that song is pretty common at sporting events, and they probably had these people that are running the stadium probably play it before Grasshoppers games and don't think twice about it and didn't realize that.
What are the odds?
That should have been. And you know what else? Here's another little tidbit about that. Before the NIT game at Madison Square Garden, as the players were all kind of going out there right before the game started, they were playing Sandstorm there, and Clemson lost in the NIT.
Oh, well, there you go.
At Madison Square Garden. Yeah.
Somebody's got the formula. When do you want to play the audio, Corn? Cool, stand by. Hey, K-Mac, I might have to have you mute when we go to this Jack Leggett.
Are we doing it this segment?
All right, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. We all want to wish you a very safe and happy Memorial Day weekend as we kind of exhale a little bit, get ready for the NCAA baseball tournament. And, of course, after Memorial Day, kind of head into a little summer vacation for some folks. Before you know it, it'll be mid-July, and we'll be diving deeply into football with SEC Media Day coming up like July 14th this year. And after that, the ACC, and then various and sundry other preseason football gatherings, and then we'll get into practice, and the real stuff will be here before you know it. 800-956-7266, our number. Going to join us on the program tonight. Comment on Clemson's performance in the ACC tournament, and should this squelch all the talk about Jack Leggett, which I certainly think this throws a big bucket of cold water on any fire that might have been burning there, because he'll get his team to the NCAA tournament and see what they can do there. And even if they go 0-2, still no reason for people to be speculating about his job. He should be on as firm a ground as possible for somebody who's won 1,300 games in his career, in his top 10 all time in coaching victories. So Clemson comes up short today, however, 3-0 against Georgia Tech. And I will grant those who've been criticizing Leggett that this team, game in and game out, did not play great baseball. A lot of errors. They had 3 more errors today. A lot of midweek losses that they should not have. So Leggett has to pay attention to that. He has to address that situation about these midweek losses. You go back over the past 3 years, they've suffered a lot of losses to non-league teams in the midweek because of lack of depth in their pitching or just fundamentally bad play, whatever the case may be. He needs to address that if they're going to become a team that's going to be hosting regionals once again and being in a position to host super regionals. Those losses come back to bite you. Tigers do lose it today, 3-0. Let's go back to K-Mac in Greensboro as we bring you exclusively over the airwaves the post-game comments of Jack Leggett and some of his players. Who do we have, K-Mac?
It'll be Jack Leggett, Garrett Bolware, and Clay Schmidt at the podium. And, you know, this, Corn, we should have known there was a bad omen for Clemson when they were having the starting lineups announced over the PA for Clemson. The background music was Sandstorm. And I think that
was somebody sending a shot.
That might have been the bad omen. I was telling Pope during the break, the last time that happened, you know, when they were at Madison Square Garden to play SMU in the semifinals of the NIT, as they were walking onto the court, the MSG PA was playing Sandstorm, and Clemson ended up losing that game as well. So some Sandstorm kryptonite being thrown. I poked around a little bit. I do think it was inadvertent, just part of the rotation. That's a pretty popular sports song. Of course, everybody knows that South Carolina has made it their own, and somebody just goofed there when they were doing the Clemson lineups with Sandstorm in the background. And Clemson was in a funk offensively, had some great pitching, wiggled out of some jams, but just couldn't muster together any offense. Here's Jack Leggett, Garrett Bolware, and the starting pitcher, Clay Schmidt.
Oh, just disappointing game, tough game for us. I thought Clay did a great job for us. Went out and pitched, on a spot start type situation and gave us everything he had and put us in a position to win. We just could not get anything going offensively all day long. We had leadoff man on, I think, 4 out of the 5 first innings or 4 or 5 first innings, and just couldn't materialize with it. Couldn't get things going, and couldn't put back-to-back hits together, and so it was a very tough, and frustrating offensive day for us. Especially after a good win last night, but just one of those games where they pitched exceptionally well, and we just couldn't make that many adjustments.
Take questions.
Yeah. Coach, 8 runs in 3 games. What do you have to do over the next week to get these guys ready for regional offensively? We actually played pretty good, against Duke. We played good yesterday and played good offensively. Seen good pitching all 3 days. We just couldn't get it going today. That's all there is to it. The other 2 days I was very pleased about how we played offensively, and anytime you're in this league and you're playing in this kind of tournament, you're going to see everybody's combination of best guys, and we just were a little off the mark today, and they were a little better than we were on the mound, on a mound against our hitters.
Yeah.
Coach, you've been looking for a third starter. Do you feel like you found one today?
He did a great job for us. That's all there is to it. I had a really good feeling about him going into the game, actually, and he proved to be the right guy against them, and pitched out of some jams early. We made a couple mistakes at one inning where we couldn't handle the bunt. That kind of hurt us. But at the same time, if you don't score any runs, you're not going to win the ball game. And so we just couldn't piece anything together offensively to get the spark going that we needed.
Yep.
Clay, when did you find out you were starting, and what was your mindset coming into the game?
We kind of talked about it before we got here, like before we got to the ACC tournament, that it was kind of up in the air. And then last night was kind of made it official. Pep told me about it, and Sev did. And, it was just one of those days. It was they battled, and we battled. They just came out on top. Defense behind me played great. I kind of got myself in a couple of bad spots, and they got me out of it. And Oki was back there working hard for me, and I can't be mad at them because they bailed me out plenty of other times, and it's just how I rolled today.
Is it the kind of performance you can really, take a lot of confidence from moving forward?
Yeah, I felt great today. Felt like it was a really good performance. I really wish I would have kind of left the spot a little bit better for Campbell coming in, but I'll give Campbell that ball 10 out of 10 times. I trust that man more than anybody, and it's just how it goes today. But I feel really confident about the next games and coming into the regional.
Any other questions? Yep.
Jack, I mean, do you feel pretty good going into Monday?
I would hope so. You know, we played tough in this tournament. It's a great conference. We finished second in our division, fifth in the conference, won 2 ball games here, you know, beat Duke, beat Miami, played tough today. We got a good baseball team, so I'd be shocked and disappointed if anything else happened. So we're looking forward to going back and practicing and hopefully preparing ourselves for next weekend.
Garrett, kind of along the same lines, where's this team's confidence level right now?
I mean, honestly, our confidence is up. Today it just didn't click. Clay pitched awesome. I mean, that best thing we found out about today is that we got a good third starter. And I'm just glad we found that. We didn't hit well today, but we're a good hitting team. And so when we get all 3 of those things clicking together, I think we'll do some damage after this.
Yep.
Garrett, was there anything in particular that the Georgia Tech pitching was doing to keep you guys off balance?
Just a good pitcher. We had a good approach going into the game. We felt like we were expected to hit this guy, and he just made the pitches when we weren't expecting it, and we put some bad swings on some balls that he was trying to get us to swing at, and it just worked in their favor.
Okay, there you go. The Tigers following the loss today to Georgia Tech, so they bow out of the ACC tournament, a victory short of making it to the championship game on Sunday afternoon, but a good showing nonetheless. In particular, that win over Miami was really exciting. And again, you look ahead to Clemson in the NCAA tournament with the pitching that they do have at the front line. If those guys can go deep, it's going to give them a chance. Came back where they've got to be a little bit concerned. And Matt Campbell gave up the home run today, and I think their middle relief, those guys that have pitched in the midweek and worked middle relief in these tournaments may be a little bit suspect. And if you go deep in the tournament, you may have to turn to somebody like that.
Yeah, and they also need to find some offense. Clemson doesn't have anybody in that lineup, Corn, that scares you. They don't have that Richie Schaefer or that Kyle Parker or that Khalil Green that scares you in that lineup, and that's a problem.
All right, K-Mac, hang with us. We'll come back and update you on some other baseball scores and news notes as well. We'll be right back.
Hey, Mac.
Yeah.
Did you see who's preceding us in Greenville next week?
I did see that.
Kind of neat, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's a Clear Channel station. I'd heard, Gunner told me that they thought that was going to happen. But, I mean, good for them. I mean, it doesn't mean, I don't know what it means for them. Probably the same thing now. They're just on in a different market. They can go out and try to sell their own advertising in another market. Good luck.
Yeah, I feel like anything's got to help, though. Or better than it was before. I don't know. That was just my guess.
Bam, bam.
I think it makes kind of sense with all the Clemson-style radio they have up that way.
Yeah, I do think it'll be good to have, because there's a lot of Gamecocks up there in Greenville.
Yeah. All right, Corn, that's pretty much all the audio scheduled. right, gentlemen, stand by.
All right, we're back. Sports Talk, 800-956-7266. Good to have you with us here on this Friday night heading into the weekend. Phil Kornbluth, Professor Tom Hayes, the state man, Graham Pope, all together here in Columbia. Kevin McCrary wrapping things up at the ACC tournament for us in Greensboro. Let me give you a couple of other notes of major interest. We'll do full recruiting report coming up, but one thing from this evening, offensive lineman Emmanuel McGirt of Durham, North Carolina, he's released his top 8 schools in South Carolina. Is among his top 8 schools, all SEC and ACC schools in the mix for him. We'll give you details on that coming up a little bit later on. Some other things going on. NCAA women's golf tournament, and today South Carolina had its best round of the 4. The USC women, they've improved for the 4 rounds. Today they shot a combined score of 281, puts them in 13th spot right now at 44 over par. As a matter of fact, looks like it's over now. So Duke has won. Everybody's in. Yeah, everybody's in. Looks like Duke has won the golf national championship for women at 10 over par. Southern Cal finishes 2 back. UCLA 15 back, Oklahoma 17 back, and Arizona State 20 shots off the pace. USC comes in 13th spot. Today for the USC women, Justine Dreer had an even par round. Samantha Swinehart 3 under. She was 2 under yesterday, 3 under today, so she played the last 2 rounds in 5 under. Susie Lee +1 today, Kathleen Dambo +3, and Sarah Melville +6 today for the USC women. As for the men, they've been in a weather delay since 3:25, third one of the day, and South Carolina still very early in its round. They are 1 under for their round. They have played 4 holes as a group. They're playing holes 5 through 7, and they are 1 under, 2 back of the leader right now, which is Oregon. And then Iowa State's 2 under, SMU's 2 under, USC's 1 under in fourth place. And again, they're still in a weather delay in the tournament. Where are they playing this thing?
In Hutchinson.
Oh, you're right, Hutchinson, Kansas. Yeah, Prairie Dunes Country Club in Hutchinson, Kansas. You're exactly right.
And of course, they got a lot of weather fronts hitting there. They may be playing into Tuesday in there. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see what else. Update baseball for you here, and the ACC, of course, is done for the afternoon. Waiting on Virginia and North Carolina to play tonight. Southern Conference, Georgia Southern beat Appalachian State 2-1. Wofford and Davidson coming up. In the SEC, the game that was going on this afternoon, elimination game, Ole Miss. Ole Miss had a pretty comfortable lead early in this one, but now it's tightened up, and Ole Miss has gone back on top. It's 7-6 in the bottom of the 7th. Ole Miss is the home team, and they lead. Coming up, Florida and Mississippi State. So as we think about where Clemson could end up as a number 3 seed in all likelihood somewhere, thinking about teams that could host, I mean, I think my best guess, guys, is that they'll be placed in an SEC venue. Think about SEC teams that would host. I threw Vanderbilt out. They could end up at Ole Miss. They could end up at Florida as a number 3 seed. Really, any of those places, I think, is where Clemson could be played when the committee releases. The full field will be announced at noon on Monday.
Well, let's get a little bit funky here and think that the committee is going to do some wild stuff. Could you see Clemson getting stuck in a regional hosted by Indiana, for instance?
Yeah, I mean,
which Indiana could not stand. They said, "Don't put them in."
I mean, and we're presuming that Clemson will be a number 3 seed. I don't think they would rise to a number 2. And then let's talk about the USC region. Gamecocks will probably get a top team from the ACC as a number 2 seed, I would think. Who could that be that's not going to be hosting? Could they end up with because Virginia's going to host, obviously.
Before Maryland went
Florida
to the
State's
tournament.
going to host. No, Maryland won't. They could get Maryland as a number 2. What do you think, K-Mac? Could you see Maryland coming to Columbia as a number 2 seed?
I could. There were some people from Maryland talking about that scenario earlier. You never know how it's going to work out. We do know that historically SEC and ACC teams do seem to get paired up against each other in the regionals and super regional rounds at their respective venues, and I don't think there's any reason to believe that won't change. But there's always that one goofy team that they send out to Corvallis or somewhere crazy, so you don't want to be that team, obviously.
Yeah, and usually USC gets a team as well from the Northeast.
Right.
Not that I'm counting Maryland as that team, but you could see it maybe a team from the Northeast coming in as well. We'll be right back.
We've only got 6 more to go. All right, gents. All right. Stand by.
Of course, it's a big racing weekend, biggest of the year. 1,100 miles of racing coming up between Charlotte and Indy. How much of that will you watch over the weekend? I'll watch a pretty good bit of it. Between and amongst all my yard work and other things I had to do off the honey-do lists for Memorial Day weekend. We'll talk more about that coming up with the full Monty on NASCAR. Monty Dutton will be joining us here in our next hour. And also we'll try to hook up with our buddy Frank Kerr to his thoughts on how things are coming together for his team and how the race should break down in Charlotte on Sunday afternoon and Sunday night. Now, remember, when you're out on the water this weekend, please have all the fun you want, but please never drink and drive your boat. Always designate a driver. Always wear your life jacket. Simple things like that can prevent tragedy. Let's all make it through the summer safely. We'll see you at the football games this coming fall, so keep that in mind. Hit the water this weekend. Also keep in mind, the current Powerball jackpot is $132 million. So if you don't have a boat and you hit the jackpot, you can buy a lot of boats with $132 million. Be sure to purchase Power Play for an extra $1 for a chance to increase your winnings from the South Carolina Education Lottery. This note on Marcus Lattimore. They have got a camp coming up, a rookie mini camp this weekend. Jim Harbaugh says that Lattimore has looked good on the days that he's been working this spring, but he won't be able to be a full participant over the weekend because he, quote, is working through something, end quote, that isn't the right knee he injured in 2012. Harbaugh on the team website said, quote, he's working through something. It's not the knee. It's something else he's working through. We're going to be going through the speed that the doctors allow, what his body allows him to go. Matt Barrows of the Sacramento Bee wrote this week of Lattimore, he's been sore in both legs as a result of his workouts this spring. Lattimore spun that as that's a good thing because it meant he was working with both legs, not just his left one, but it may be part of the reason why the 49ers are keeping him from going full speed at minicamp.
I would think probably Lattimore is one of those rare individuals that one of the trainers may have to run out of the workout room. You know, some guys, you got to tell them when to stop because they'll keep going. And Lattimore seems like one of those guys because he's one of those guys almost like a masochist. He almost loves soreness.
Yeah.
I think he hadn't done anything unless he's sore after.
Well, his work ethic is top-notch, as we well know. All right, going to hit the top of the hour break. We'll be back. You can take your phone calls, talk about the baseball scenario, the Brad Brownell contract at Clemson, the racing this weekend. We'll do recruiting as well. Full hour of sports talk coming up after the break.
Ladies and gentlemen, the host score according to the system. 4-3-5 is 1 piece in America. Please do all here with the system of our I can share the lead.
Here we go.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back with you at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Happy Memorial Day weekend, everybody. Enjoy yourselves. Have a great time. Not too great of a time. Make sure that you take care of yourself. You'll be back with us on Monday night. We will be here Monday night, broadcasting live. Holiday?
Busman's holiday.
What holiday? State man, you'll be here Monday night, right? Yes. Yeah. I'll be here. Pro, you'll be here?
Yeah, I'll be here.
Oh, you'll be here? K-Mac, will you be here Monday night, K-Mac?
No, I will not.
No. And where will you be Monday night, K-Mac?
I will actually be in McCormick. It is I'm celebrating a birthday, not my own.
Mm-hmm.
One of the more important people in the family. One of the many girls in my life is celebrating birthday number 14.
Well, that's just sweet. And what would be the lure to McCormick, of all places?
Oh, we actually go to Hickory Knob every year for her birthday.
Oh,
so
Hickory Knob.
From here to there. Every year we go there for her birthday.
The one time I've gotten a chance to play Hickory Knob was a few years ago. I think you were there, too. We were going to play. It was the weekend of USC-Clemson baseball as well at Clemson. And it rained like cats and elephants, not just dogs. Cats, dogs, elephants, pigs. It rained. It poured.
Yeah, you didn't get to play it, did you?
A chance to play. I had to go cover baseball the next day. I didn't get a chance to play. I think you stayed and played.
I sloshed around there, played the front side twice. The back was very wet. I played that course many times, obviously. That's a hidden little gem. If you get a chance, and it's an easy trek from anywhere in the state, really, from Columbia, from the upstate, you can get right over there. Really nice track there at Hickory Knob, and they have some nice rooms that you can stay and make a weekend out of it.
Yeah, I remember the ride. I think it was up US 378. It's a beautiful little ride up there.
Yeah, the only time I went to Hickory Knob, unfortunately, yes, I was working.
Doing what?
No, it was a campus retreat.
Oh. Well, K-Mac, you have fun. Don't think about us back here slaving away, carrying on the duties of the program.
You don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
I do my Bob Knight impersonation. Who said I wasn't going to be here Monday? There's only
That's right. That's right. All right, 800-956-7266 is our phone number if you'd like to join in on the program tonight. K-Mac, are they underway in the last game of the day there yet?
They are getting underway as we speak. North Carolina taking the field, and Virginia will step up here and lead off the top of the first inning. And again, if Virginia wins this game, Maryland punches its ticket to the championship game.
Okay, let's update what's happening in the SEC game as well. Elimination day in Hoover, Alabama, and they top of the ninth. Arkansas and Ole Miss, they're tied at 7, top of the ninth. Florida and Mississippi State still to come. Davidson with a 1-0 lead on Wofford in the Southern Conference Tournament. Let's see if they've gotten back underway in Rock Hill. No, it says here they're still in a delay with Campbell leading Coastal Carolina 12-9. They have had all kinds of problems at the Big South Tournament this week. We'll be back. More sports talk coming up.
Zero. All right, stand by.
I got recruiting coming up a little bit later on. A lot of guys cutting those lists, and including USC and Clemson on those short lists. Arkansas has beaten Ole Miss 8-7 So Ole Miss is out. Arkansas stays alive. That definitely hurts Ole Miss in terms of getting in the top 8. They'll definitely be a regional host, but that certainly hurts them as far as their opportunity to get into the top 8 for the upcoming tournament and being in position to host a super regional. So 8-7, Arkansas takes down Ole Miss tonight at the SEC tournament. Hey, you want more out of your education? Palmetto College offers the quality of a 4-year education online. To find out more, visit palmettocollege.sc.edu. With Palmetto College, your future has no limits. Let's jump to the phones, then we'll talk a little bit about the Gamecocks coming off their miserable 2 days in Hoover. And Walt in Blacksburg. Welcome into Sports Talk tonight, sir. How are you?
Doing good. Three opinions, and I'll be very brief. Jack Leggett should not be fired. They ought to give him a contract extension as soon as his contract is up for the appropriate time. Secondly, very glad to see Brad Brownell get an extension. Clemson could really be a real pearl in basketball if they could get their fan base and the powers that be to get behind basketball and make it. It's never going to be the number one sport. Make it a strong number 2. And last, the conference tournaments, especially in baseball and basketball, are getting to the point where they don't really mean that much. And I'm wondering what football is going to do whenever they go to 8 or more teams playoffs. Would be very interested in hearing any comments or opinions you fellows may have on any of these.
Yeah, very good topics and points to bring up. As an athletic director, how do you deal with coaches and contracts? I don't know what Jack's contract situation is at Clemson. I don't know if he's at the end of it in terms of the years or if he has years to come. If I'm Radakovich, you might, if you want to give him a year extension just to show a little vote of confidence,
yes.
That's all I would do. Keep in mind, I'm not going to say that this team has underachieved. Based on what they had coming back, based on the pitching they had coming back, I think Jack would tell you this team, performance-wise, has not lived up to expectations. Not with the one-sided losses they suffered, not with the bountiful number of fielding errors they've had. It hasn't been the team that others expected it to be. That being said, I think that if you're Radakovich, you want to give him a year contract, depending on what his contract situation is. If he's got multiple years left, if he's got 3-4 years, I don't know what he's got. I have to look it up. Maybe you don't do anything, but maybe if you want to give him a year just for a little bit of PR and to show your confidence in him, and in terms of recruiting, you always kind of do that kind of stuff as well.
And coaches need their ego stroked too after taking a hit from the fans. I will say this, Phil. I think it wasn't Ray Tanner that said Skip Bergman, the longtime coach at LSU, told him the team. You're gonna win it when you don't think it's not going to be your best team that wins it. That's how baseball is, and so maybe Jack has had better teams, but and this team is a good one. But maybe they underachieved. But that's going to happen in baseball. As far as Brad Brownell is concerned,
hold that thought one second. The end of July 2011. They finalized a 5-year contract with Jack that runs through 2016 and raised him to $400,000 guaranteed annually. So I guess this is the last time they've done anything with his contract that we can find. So he's under contract through 2016. So 2 more seasons. They did this in 2011. They did this in 2011 to give him a 5-year deal. So
roll it over. 1 year roll over.
Well, you might do that, if you're of a mind to do that, if you're Dan Radakovich.
But here's the other interesting thing. He talked about Clemson's fan base.
I'll say this. It'll come out because he's going to have his meetings with Jack. And if he doesn't give him a year, that's going to be a sign as well. That'll be a sign of, I'm not real pleased with this year. I'm not firing you. I'm not making a change, but I'm not going to extend you. And you're not a lame duck yet, but you will be a lame duck after next year if you don't get the program back up to the highest level. That might be how he looks at it.
It'd be interesting to see. But as far as he talked about the Clemson basketball fan base, Phil, sometimes necessity is the mother of invention, if I may use that cliche. I've always thought that Clemson, for whatever reason, and I know the students are on campus, that they should mind some unknown territory, and that is with that arena. I don't know what they call it now. I still say Bilo Center. Play some games in Greenville. I know you want your conference games at home, but non-conference season, especially during maybe the holidays when maybe all the students aren't on campus, and play some of those games in Greenville. You know, you can cultivate more fans bringing that action into Greenville.
Well, they're not spending all this money to renovate Little John Coliseum
but
to play games in Greenville.
But what I'm saying is they're going to have to play some games in Greenville while they renovate, right?
Correct.
So now if they see that, wait a minute, you know what? These fans in Greenville are turned on by basketball. Maybe that will make them think about at least 2 or 3 games in Greenville.
Well, you're talking about if you're going to play Furman or you're going to play
North
Greenville. You're not going to play a big ACC game.
No, I'm talking about doing non-conference schedule.
Yeah.
Bring some
you
teams
could
in
have a quote-unquote neutral site game against a
exactly. That's what I'm talking
opponent
about.
Yeah. They've done that in the past.
Then you draw those fans maybe to drive to Clemson when the ACC season starts.
And let's see, the other part about the tournaments, I couldn't agree with you more. With so many teams making it out of the leagues based on their regular season, the tournaments mean very little for most teams. You know, a team could get hot, like Maryland has done at the ACC tournament, and play its way into the NCAA tournament. We see that all the time. But by and large, most of the teams already know they're going to the NCAA tournament, so it doesn't mean a whole lot to them. And same thing with basketball. With so many teams coming out of the league, unless a team gets hot and makes it and pulls off the upset to get the automatic bid, it doesn't mean anything. Football-wise, you know, as long as they hold it to 4 teams in the playoff, the regular season will still mean a great deal. But as they expand the playoffs, and we know they will when they go to 8 and then 16, you'll see some watering down, I'm sure, of records of teams making the playoffs. You won't see just undefeated teams or 1-loss teams participating. You may see a 2-loss team. You may even see a 3-loss team participating because it's going to be left up to a committee, and they're going to weigh all kind of data, and they're going to have their own personal opinions and feelings about teams, and a team may suffer a very close loss or 2, but in the opinion of the majority, they're worthy of being in the playoff despite having 3 losses.
And look at this. I would hope the fans would look at the regular season and think of playoffs. For instance, last year, South Carolina playing Missouri at Missouri was a playoff game. South Carolina, you don't win this game, you're out of the race for the SEC title. Missouri, if you don't run the table these last SEC games, you're out. Those teams were in playoff form during the regular season because one was going to stay at home, the other was going to get the bid to win the SEC East. And Missouri, South Carolina put their feet to the fire. Missouri bowled up and won their last 3 games. That to me was a playoff. That was playoff mode right there in the regular season. Please start looking at regular season games, especially down the stretch, as playoff games because they are.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks for your phone call. Very good points. Very good questions that you brought up to us, and we appreciate that. 800-956-7266 is the phone number. Going to jump on board. We'll be right back with more Sports Talk.
Did it say how long the severe weather warning was for Richland? Doesn't really look too bad out there. I just wonder if it's heading our way or what. It's always Lexington Newberry that gets the worst of it.
Well, they're still stuck in neutral in Rock Hill in the Big South Conference Tournament. They've been in a delay for a while. Campbell leading Coastal Carolina 12-0 in an elimination game. Radford and Liberty coming up. I wonder if Liberty will get a regional. I mean, they've had a phenomenal year. Let's see what their numbers look like. 40-15, 23-3 in their conference. They've got a beautiful new stadium. I'm not sure how much it seats off the top of my head. Maybe 4,000 or 5,000. I don't know if they are equipped to handle a regional. I think they built that new facility with the idea of hosting regionals. So maybe they're gonna. How about that now? How about that? How about maybe Clemson going to Liberty as a number 3 seed? See that possibly. Joe Maine would welcome Jack Leggett with open arms. Want more from your education? Palmetto College offers the quality of a 4-year education online. To find out more, visit palmettocollege.sc. With Palmetto College, your future has no limits. South Carolina coming off a really bad showing in Hoover. It's as bad as I've seen South Carolina play baseball in a long, long time. They just seem flat. I don't know. They didn't bring much enthusiasm, it appeared to me, watching from afar into their dugout and watching them on the field. They didn't seem to be really tuned in to the tournament, which surprised me based on some of their comments before leaving Columbia. Joey Pancake talked about being focused and really wanting to win this thing, but it just didn't seem like they had their they certainly didn't have their game with them, and I'm not sure they had their mind with them as well. They just made several fundamental mistakes. It started with Grayson Griner getting thrown out at third base, and part of that was Pancake not hitting behind him but hitting in front of him, but still, fundamental baseball, you don't give yourself up at third base like that, and it just continued to deteriorate from that point forward.
Yeah, as I said before, they talked a good game, but subliminally it looked like they were out of it. And Phil, that's no, and I'm not harping on or making a connection here, and I'm just making an observation. As you said before, South Carolina has a major, strong program in college baseball, one of the best in the country. Their fans are one of the reasons when they pack Carolina Stadium, that team, if they're in a big game, pretty much refuses to lose. But the fans are not into going to Hoover and the tournament.
They never have been, really.
There we go.
Even during the Ray Tanner years,
and so maybe
Gamecock fans did not travel well to Hoover, even in those years when they played for the championship.
Maybe the team picks up the cue. Hey.
Well, there's only 2 teams that travel well to Hoover for baseball.
LSU and
Mississippi State.
Okay.
Now, I'm excluding Auburn and Alabama, obviously.
Right, because
it's not really traveling for their people. But yeah, LSU and Mississippi State, are they really the only? Florida doesn't bring anybody.
No.
Yeah, Kentucky had a pretty fair contingent of fans, and they're doing well. They've got themselves in a position to play for the championship. But South Carolina has never really supported it from a fan standpoint.
And here's LaBrice. First pitch swinging, liner at Bolt, and what a great catch. Scott Volt charging in. Now
he comes running in on this one, and with the dive, makes a very nice play, hangs on to the ball. And again, Wes, we've mentioned it. Look at those shadows. That ball coming out of the shadows into the sun has to be difficult for those outfielders to pick up.
So 2 down, and here is the Canadian freshman, shortstop Daniel Panero, takes a strike.
And he's the guy that folks from Virginia told us that his father is Cuban, his mother's Russian.
And hammers that towards center. One more time. Number 3. So
Lugoff Automotive Group. A lot less during our huge Memorial Holiday Sale. Lugoff Toyota. Lugoff North Carolina Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Lugoff, where it's always fast, fair, and friendly.
Choose from the largest selection of new Nissans in South Carolina. All three Nissan locations. Like the all-new Nissan Altima, 38 miles per gallon and one of the safest vehicles on the road. Nissan Crossover Road, best in class for mileage, cargo, and headroom. With the rugged Nissan frontal truck. And supplied with a full-size bed that can most power of any truck in its class.
Now at all three Richmond Nissan locations, they will include and legend. Look what you like.
Pay less at Lugoff Toyota with our best memorial prices on hundreds of new Toyotas during Toyota time. Camrys up to $6,200 off. Ram 4s $20,988. The all-new Lugoff Toyota.
Bottom of the second, up next here from Greensboro, Scott Volt, March Jordan, Ingrid Chacon, set for North Carolina. Around the ballpark, enjoying the 2014 ACC Baseball Championship. Good crowds here tonight. Wahoo's Tar Heels, fans and others have come in. Third time in 5 years the Gate City has hosted this championship. And done a marvelous job.
One of the oddities about the game tonight, there's not too many times that the University of Maryland, the University of Virginia, that they are good tonight. A Virginia win here tonight based on the tie-breaking formula would put Maryland in the title game on Sunday.
And what a statement by John Sheff's team, huh, Dan? 2 ball games here. There's a bunt by Bull foul. Maryland came into the event 34-19. Already set a record for most wins in a season with the victory today. They were a game above 500 in the league at 15-14.
And they've come in there. Now they've won 11. Seeds in their pool.
Yep. 0-1 to Bolt. Slugged over the top of Panero into shallow left center field. Another leadoff hit for North Carolina here in the second. So the target.
All right, let's go to Greensboro quickly and get an update from K-Mac, who's watching the evening game between Virginia and North Carolina. What you got, K-Mac?
Still no score, bottom of the first inning. Nobody out. North Carolina does have their leadoff man on base here. Again, if Virginia wins, Maryland is off to the championship game.
Maryland. It's scoreless. We missed the very beginning of your comments. Scoreless there in that ball game in Greensboro. Maryland certainly pulling hard for Virginia to take care of the Tar Heels for them tonight. Coming up, Monty Dutton, the full Monty on NASCAR, maybe a little Indy as well. Let's hit another phone call before we get to Monty, and it's going to be Susan in West Columbia. Hi, Susan. Welcome into Sports Talk.
Thank you, Phil. I'm the lady who bid on getting to come see you all do Sports Talk for Rosewood School.
Yes, you are the winner, huh?
The winner, my children got it for me for Mother's Day.
Great.
And we are all so excited. My son-in-law said, I'd like to go. In fact, he gave me the certificate. And they are on vacation. As soon as they get home, we're going to call and make our appointment, and we all can't wait.
Well, that's super, and we look forward to having you. I'll have to have some catering here for you and some wine and some roses and things of that nature. Yeah, we'll take you. We'll make it an experience you'll never forget.
Well, I'm watching it online. It's interesting to see. Yeah, well, thing is how nobody in Columbia is smart enough to have you. That just blows my mind and continues to. I was going to call and ask Clem.
Kind of stunned myself, to be honest with you. I'm sorry?
Yeah, I should think so. I was actually calling to find out when and what time and on what kind of electronic device I can listen to the Clemson Georgia Tech game, but I see that it must be tomorrow. Is that correct?
No, they played today. They played this afternoon.
Did?
Sorry to tell you that Georgia Tech beat the Tigers 3-0.
Excellent.
Oh, you're happy about that? Is that it?
And then she's gone.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm glad we made you happy with that news, I guess.
Wow.
With that, we go to Monty Dutton, the full Monty, on NASCAR tonight. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Hi, Phil.
Good to have you with us.
I'm fine.
By the way, that Coastal Carolina game, Aaron Marks tells us, will restart at 8 o'clock up in Rock Hill. So how much racing will you watch on Sunday between the two?
I'm actually kind of looking forward to it because I'm kind of looking at this kind of like, the world's great motorsports day. And so I'm kind of looking forward to getting up early in the morning and watching the Grand Prix of Monaco, then the Indy 500, then the 600. 3 races on TV.
I forgot about Monaco. Do you like the IndyCar open wheel racing?
Well, I do, but all the years I covered NASCAR, when you're so obsessed and focused on the area, you lose a lot of knowledge. You can't follow it as closely. But I went to the Indy 500 as a fan several times before I was anchored in Charlotte for 20 years.
And what's it like watching the Indy 500 in person?
Oh, I think it's really the Indy 500. They call it the greatest spectacle in racing, and spectacle is an appropriate word because it really is. It has a different vibe from like the Daytona 500 because it's it's sort of like a Midwestern celebration. I always think it's interesting because of the two different versions of a Memorial Day. At Indianapolis, it's like playing of taps and Jim Neighbors singing Back Home Again, Indiana, Florence Henderson singing. I mean, with the Purdue marching band.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a much more martial air. Where in Charlotte, we used to call it the annual invasion of the Tri-Oval, when they'd have like some, military expedition. One of my favorite one-liners ever was when my colleague Kenny Bruce, one night they had like this, reenactment of a military thing where they had a bunch of soldiers and they were on their bellies and they were firing blanks, but it looked like they were shooting at the crowd. So I pointed this out to Kenny, and he turned back to me and said, if this was Bristol, they'd have a fight on their hands.
They'd feel right at home. I think it was Jim Murray.
Fire from the dance.
I think it wasn't Jim Murray who had wrote the great line about Indianapolis, gentlemen, start your coffins.
That's right. That's one of the most famous leads in the history of sports journalism, I would say.
I wish I'd have thought of it.
Well, Jim Murray, being the columnist of the Los Angeles Times, could probably pull that off a little bit easier than Monty Dutton, racing writer of Jacksonville.
Gentlemen, start your coffins. Kurt Busch is the one that's going to try and pull off the double. And what do you think about, of course, a lot depends on staying out of the wall at Indy and how much he actually gets to race there, but he'll start 12th there. How do you think he's going to handle the two? Is he capable of running well at both places?
Well, I think that Indy is the toughest one because he hasn't done it a lot, and so I think staying out of trouble will be harder for him at Indianapolis. He's an immensely talented driver, but I think when Tony Stewart and Robbie Gordon one that ran the 2 races. They had a great deal of IndyCar experience. And so it's quite a challenge, but Kurt is a very talented driver. You know, in 1999, I rode in the troop with Stewart, the Indy, and back down. And that was the first time that Stewart did both. And, you know, I was about to write a book on Stewart, and so I was hanging around with him. And he really was, what he learned was he took all, he had to do the conditioning different the next time. I remember that at the end of the race in Charlotte, he was, you know, looked as bad. He looked as bad as anybody I've ever seen. He almost was, you know, just like he was completely exhausted.
Yeah.
In 01, he handled it a lot better. You know, I think that maybe he concentrated too much on fluids and didn't get anything on his stomach. But he was really sick after the 600. So it's a taxing thing. And, you know, it's not just taxing about being the race stars. It's taxing with all the hustle and bustle of getting you in a helicopter to the airport, then a jet to Charlotte, then another helicopter back to the Speedway. I mean, it's quite a logistical. I mean, you know, it would be exhausting if he didn't have to drive 1,100 miles.
All right, we've got about 90 seconds, so let me ask you about the 600. And here's Danica Patrick qualifying for it. Another great qualifying run for her on a non-restrictor plate track. And, I mean, listen, she's got to be recognized here among these other favorites. Jimmy Johnson, Brad Keselowski, Casey King qualifying ahead of her. Boyer, Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Logano, Ambrose, and Jr. rounding out the top 10. What do you think about her showing, and who do you see emerging on Sunday night?
2 points. Number one, I mean, she's really improving, but there is a big difference between going fast on the track by yourself and qualifying, going fast in the racing people taking lines you want to use. Number one. Number two, I think that maybe what's happening with Danica Patrick is that she's always had a lot of driving skill, but she didn't have very much knowledge of the feel of a stock car and has a hard time communicating what she feels. And so they have to sort of get the car perfect because she can't really. I mean, I'm just saying. I think maybe just like the way that a person who tries to pick up a guitar goes 2 months and he can't do anything, it's hopeless, and then all of a sudden clicks. I think that Danica Patrick may have had sort of a eureka moment where she kind of got it after being mainly confused for a long, long time. So that's my view of her improvement. But you know, we'll just have to see.
And your pick is?
My pick in the Casey King.
Starting third, Casey King.
He's really good at Charlotte, so I think I'll pick him.
I think that's a very wise choice on your part. Monty, enjoy the racing. 3 races for Monty. That's what I call the full Monty of racing. And we'll talk to you next Friday.
Thanks a lot, Phil.
Thank you, Monty. And you can get more of Monty on his website, Monty Dutton. That's M-O-N-T-E Dutton, D-U-D-T-O-N.com. Yeah, MontyDutton.com. You can get more of Monty's great writing at MontyDutton.com and check out some of his books he's written as well. We'll be back. Recruiting coming up in a moment.
Stand by.
Recruiting in just a moment. Let's get back to Greensboro. With a quick update from K-Mac, watching the North Carolina baseball game in the ACC tournament. What's the latest, K-Mac?
2.5 innings into this one and still no score. North Carolina coming up 0-2-0 for the Tar Heels, 0-1-0 for the Hoos.
Mm-hmm. Clemson the loser today, 3-0 to Georgia Tech. And the first game of the day saw Maryland defeat Florida State. Maryland needing help from Virginia to make it to the championship round. It could be a Maryland-Duke championship game of the ACC tournament, depending on how things pan out. And also today it was Arkansas eliminating Ole Miss 7-6 at the SEC tournament. Now to recruiting. Offensive lineman Emmanuel McGirt of Durham released his top 8 schools tonight. USC, North Carolina, NC State, Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech, LSU, Florida, and Duke. He plans to focus on these programs in his recruiting until he makes his decision in late June. Defensive end LaSamuel Davis of Bamberg Earhart plans to announce his commitment on May 31st, according to his coach, Butch Crosby. He'll announce in a little ceremony at his church. Don't have a time for that for you just yet. And last update we had on Davis from the coach was Clemson was very strong with him. Clemson and Florida in particular had emerged as the top 2 with probably the Tigers having intent for him. Wide receiver Irvin Charles of Haddonville, North Carolina, last night announced his shortened list. It is USC, Penn State, Louisville, Florida, Michigan State, Maryland, and Miami. Junior college defensive end Marquavius Lewis from Greenwood and from Hutchinson Junior College. He visited Auburn today, and as you might expect, it went extremely well. He was favoring USC coming out of a visit there last week. Down not so much after visiting Auburn, playing things a little more open after visiting with the Tigers today, as you might expect. Defensive end Darian Roseborough of Lincolnton, North Carolina, put out his top 10 list last week. USC was not in that list. However, the Gamecocks are trying to make it a top 11. They continue to recruit him, got in on him late, and now they've got him willing to take a look at what USC has to offer. As he says, he wants to get down to USC for a visit, get a better feel for it in person, and experience what they have to offer. He said he's not sure why the Gamecocks have increased their interest of late. That doesn't concern him. He does have some interests reciprocating for them. Clemson did make his list of 10. He's been to Clemson twice, has a good relationship with Marion Hobby, his recruiter, and he's one of the main reasons he likes Clemson, Roseborough said. Plus, he likes the campus. Feels like it's close to home as well. Other visits he plans to take over the summer, Michigan and Tennessee. He'd like to narrow to 5 by the end of the summer. Also in his top 10, NC State, Michigan, Tennessee, Ohio State, Florida, LSU, North Carolina, Alabama, and Duke. Basketball, Georgia, Clemson, Georgia State. Expected to be in the mix for new Maryland transfer Charles Mitchell, a source telling CBSSports.com. And Houston transfer Daniel House tells us he has completed his official visit to Texas A&M today. He has also visited USC and UCLA. He tells us the Gamecocks do remain in the running for him. He does not have a date for a decision at this point. So all these quality transfers, Pro. Clemson's also involved with A.J. Davis transferring from Tennessee, the 6'9" kid. I went back and looked at my information on him. You know, he was just a freshman at Tennessee this year out of Buford, Georgia. Clemson recruited him heavily out of high school. That was one of his official visits. Clemson, Tennessee, and Georgia Tech were his 3 official visits before he committed to Tennessee. So you could find him perhaps falling into Brad Brownell's lap.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is that we're finding more and more about basketball, and we got, what, 500, over 500
Crazy.
transfers. Now, the interesting thing about this is the problem is guys don't give them themselves a chance to learn the system. It's almost when you're an adolescent going into your later teens, it's all around you that's the problem.
I'd like to see the breakdown of transfers. This might be something we can have our staff check out. How many are directly related to coaching changes, and how many are directly related to playing time? Yeah,
exactly.
Because there's so many. How many coaching changes were there in Division I? Off the top of your head, do you remember?
Off the top of your head, about 20, I think.
You think there's,
I think
there's 20? I mean, that'd be a very small number. If you're talking about 500 Division I players transferring,
Yeah.
I wonder how many of those are directly related to a coaching change. Like in the case of House, that's not a playing time thing for him. That was a coaching change thing for him. Okay, we'll hit this break. We'll be back.
The final spot. Bum, 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 bum. K-Mac Corn wants you to make sure you talk to him before you bounce.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, so does Phil need to do the cast Monday, K-Mac?
Yes, yeah.
Corn sent you Rex Brown pictures, K-Mac.
Yeah, I added it to my story.
Yeah, he's already got them. Anything tastes good high, Corn. Everything tastes good high. Inebriated by God's grass. I was making a joke saying you were stoned. Jeez, wait, you can't use your context clues after all these years? Well, I don't get it.
Let's update the second round of play in the Crown Plaza Invitational at Colonial in Texas. Bryce Garnett, he fires a 4-under 66. He has the lead at 7 under. Chris Stroud and Robert Streb, 6 under. Bo Van Pelt. Dustin Johnson, 5 under. Aaron Baddeley, Chad Campbell, Jimmy Walker, Tim Clark. Good Lord. Brian Davis, they're all at 5 under. Dustin Johnson today, after a 65 yesterday, he has a 70 today. Let's check out some of the others that we're following. Jordan Spieth, 69, puts him at 4 under. Jim Furyk's at 2 under. Bill Haas, a 68, he's at 2 under. Ben Martin makes the cut at 2 under. Bill McGirt, a 67, He's 1 under. Jonathan Bird, 70, even par. Kyle Stanley is 68 plus 1. Davis Love III, 69 plus 1. They all make the cut. Scott Brown, 69, not good enough. Kevin Kisner, 68, not good enough. Lucas Glover, 71, misses the cut as well at Colonial. So that's where things stand there going into the weekend. And as you head into the weekend, you're going to be out on the water, I'm sure. Have a lot of fun. But please never drink and drive your boat. Always designate a driver. Always wear your life jacket. Make it through the summer safely so we can all see you at the football games rapidly approaching us this fall. All right, Virginia and North Carolina, they're still scoreless. Coastal Carolina, Campbell going to resume their game in just a couple of minutes in Rock Hill after another rain delay there. Radford and Liberty will be coming up a little bit later on this evening there as well. And at the Southern Conference Tournament, Davidson leads Wofford 5-4, top of the third. Georgia Southern has, I think it's an elimination game, has eliminated Appalachian State 2-1. At the SEC, Arkansas eliminates Ole Miss 8-7. Florida, Mississippi State coming up. Actually, they should be just getting underway there in Hoover. So you're up to date on everything. K-Mac, some final thoughts from you as you begin to pack it up and head home from Hoover.
Yeah, the end of the road for me here in Hoover. Still no score between, not Hoover, Greensboro. Virginia and North Carolina still scoreless here as we play in the bottom of the third. And hey, one of the cool things here, Corn, I talked about the playground for the kids.
Yeah.
They don't have bat boys or bat girls here. They have a dog that fetches the bats.
I've heard about that. Yeah. Names like Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, I think.
No, it's Miss Lulu Gehrig.
Oh, I thought they were named after, Miss Lulu Gehrig, Okay. Have a safe trip, K-Mac. We'll see you Tuesday.
Yeah.
Your long holiday. Don't forget, everyone, we will be with you live Sports Talk Monday night with all the pairings, all the information for the NCAA baseball tournament. So I know you'll be busy with the holiday, but be sure to check us out over the air, online, and on video. Pro, have yourselves a great weekend.
We will.
Statemen, have yourselves a great weekend. I'll have myself a great weekend. Good night. See you Monday.